Hello, this is Chris Bratt from Eurogamer, and I recently visited Obsidian Entertainment, the creators of some very well-loved role-playing games, from their more recent work, which includes Pillars of Eternity and Tyranny, to titles like South Park: The Stick of Truth, Alpha Protocol, and of course, Fallout New Vegas. This is a studio with an incredible history, one that we'll be exploring in detail over the next couple of weeks on Eurogamer, but for now, to get things started, here's a tour of the studio itself in Irvine, California. Enjoy. Hello, I'm at Obsidian Entertainment today, joined by a rather useful person to show me around. Feargus Urquhart, you're one of the founders of Obsidian, so hopefully you know the building rather well.
Hopefully, yes, yeah.
I wanted to start in the lobby for a good reason, by the way. First of all, statues are great.
Yeah.
Also, this is really, really cool.
Oh, all the caps.
This is a guy called Damien Perry, is that right?
Yeah.
That sent in 862 caps. Someone told me earlier that you didn't manage to get in contact with him afterwards. Is that true?
I think we tried, and but it's interesting because people are always sending us stuff, and a lot of the times is like it's an interesting because you always don't know what to do with it. Even when we did our Kickstarter, there's our crowdfunding. Sometimes people give us a lot of money, and then we couldn't. They gave us the money, and then we couldn't contact them. They were just happy to get us the stuff.
All right. Well, Damien, if you're out there, let us know. What does 862 bottle caps buy you in Obsidian? Do you reckon? You can have this.
Let's see.
Damien, this will be yours.
Yes. So it probably you get that. That's 862 bottle caps. Don't send in 862 bottle caps for that.
Oh God, you're gonna be flooded.
So when we founded the company. We were trying to come up with different names, and one of them was we eventually settled on Obsidian. And I think it was like a week or 2 weeks later, one of the other founders, Chris Jones, his brother-in-law, was like digging out like a garden, just like a planter. And he was digging out, and he went clang.
What?
And basically found a chunk of obsidian, and we just thought. I've lived in this area.
Why didn't you call the company Diamond?
Yeah,
think of what you could have done with that.
With some more money, or a gold bar. That's my next company. Is gold bar, yeah. So, but yeah, it was a weird fortuitous.
Oh, that's awesome.
Weird fortuitous thing, yeah. So.
That's good trivia. I'm glad you played that.
Yeah, so.
I hope you've got a key card, by the way, because otherwise.
I do. Yeah, that's good. That would have been a very short. It would have been very short.
Thank you very much.
A very short tour.
Which way would you like to go?
We can go over this way. So, we'll just kind of do quickly this, and which was, I don't know if it's odd for an independent developer, but we've been here for like a pretty long time now. We've been here since the end of 2008, so almost 9 years, if I can do my math. I'm a guy who does all the money, so hopefully I can do the math.
9 years.
And actually fairly recently, we kind of had not done a lot with the place, but a couple years ago, we actually had a big event here, and what was cool is our publisher at the time, Mail.ru, sort of helped us with doing these kind of big banners and things like this.
Yeah.
So this is Armored Warfare, and then we have one for Eternity and some more ones, and so we're going to start doing it. We're going to start to do it more, which is nicer
than Eurogamer's office. I'll give you that. So far, you're winning.
You don't want the camera to go too low and look at the carpet though. So, and so over here, I won't go in and bother everybody, but originally when we moved in the building, we were working on Alpha Protocol and Aliens, a number of things, and we were gonna actually mocap a lot of the animation. So this originally we still call it the Mocap Studio, even though there's been no mocap done in here for like 6 years. Actually 6 years. But it was built out specifically. There's like a big hole in the ceiling so we could put the cameras up, and the cameras, there's even the brackets are still on the walls.
Nice.
Where you can see basically. But yeah, this was supposed to be it's supposed to be where all we would do all our mocap, which is kind of expensive to do that in Irvine, but we thought by having it right here with us, that it would make sense. But now what we're trying out now is actually a mocap suit. And they just basically, they bounce around Irvine now in this mocap suit, and looking pretty ridiculous with foam swords and stuff like that.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So there's our this is our technology-focused studio for doing Twitch and streams and podcast. And this is Eric, and this is Mikey.
Hello.
And they're the awesome guys who talk to our community all the time and up on the forums and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. And these are all Mikey's toys.
That's good.
The cool thing about being in game development is that you get to bring your toys in.
Yeah.
And this is Mikey's collection of toys from 9 years. Mikey, did you say 9 years? 9 years. So, and he's got everything.
Brand,
so he even has he has a kind of a fetish for Guardians of the Galaxy, I would say. And he even a couple years ago dressed up as the Star-Lord for Halloween.
Oh, nice. I don't really get on with the Star-Lord very well because the actor, his name's Chris Pratt.
Yes.
He's one letter away from mine.
and I feel like there's a slight difference in success.
Yeah, it's
going
funny.
on
I
there.
have that a lot with my name, with Feargus Urquhart. There's always this one guy that has, it's one letter away. So over here where they've now put the blinds down.
Oh, you know something was going on in there.
Actually, I think it's the Eternity team, so it's really all, I don't think there was anything special going on there. But this is like our main conference room. And it probably looks kind of splashy, but
I'm trying not to look in. I'm trying not to
yes,
look in. I'm being
no,
a
no,
joke.
it's literally Eternity 2 stuff. I think they're actually just looking at characters. It's not even that big of a deal. But our splashy conference room, because I'm Scottish and I'm cheap, would never spend the money on this. But before we moved in here, there was a sort of a gym company out here called LA Fitness.
Right.
Was in
yes.
here. And they were nice enough to build a nice $100,000 conference room for us,
That's great.
and then move out so we could take it. The other side effect of that, I guess they were going through some legal problems, and the FBI kept on showing up here, looking for LA Fitness. So we're like, it's not us.
It's exactly what LA Fitness would say.
Yes, yes. So, So and then I don't know what else about the studio. So what we're doing is a big part of the studio is development. And I would say 90% of the people here work in development, and then it's only about 10% of the people that are in sort of admin and HR and all that.
How many
kind of
people
stuff.
work in?
About 170.
Right.
Fluctuates a little bit
Hello,
from day
sorry,
to day.
please come through.
You guys keep on going. Yeah.
Oh, we made them feel very awkward now. Sorry, it's fine. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. No, don't worry about it. This is Chris Benson, by the way.
Hello, Chris.
Chris Benson makes sure that everything runs.
Good job. Thank you, Chris.
But anyway, so we split. But most of development is sort of all over this way. And that's usually traditionally like our admin land.
Yep.
And then we partition the company up just into the different projects. And so we're working on about 4 projects right now with a little bit of what. So we sort of like, they each have their little zones. And there is a little bit of street fighting from the standpoint of I want that office and you get that office, and the producers are yelling at each other. But it all works pretty well. This used to be my office. So when we moved in here. This used to be my office.
You know that resentment you were talking about. I can hear it.
But because we are a narrative driven company who took over my office. It was actually character artists, but then the character artists were driven out, and now this is the narrative team, Paul and Megan, for Eternity 2. We actually have a pretty big narrative team right now, some external, some internal, working on it. Probably the biggest narrative team we've ever had working on any of our games.
Wow.
Is working on Eternity 2 right now. So
is that the biggest project right now?
No, it is not. Close, but it is not the biggest project.
Okay, all right, we won't ask any
There
more.
is another project.
All right, interesting. I think there's a corridor down here somewhere we're not allowed to walk down.
You are not allowed to walk down here. So also, I'm sure people always know games. It's art, it's design, it's programming, it's production, it's all that kind of stuff. But obviously a huge part of games is also audio. And so when we moved in here, we wanted to make sure that we had actually studios, audio studios.
I like the mix of instruments in the background here as well.
Yes. So this is actually Justin Bell's office.
His name's Justin Bell.
Justin Bell.
That's brilliant.
Yes, and I know, it was fortuitous that he became an audio guy. But Justin's worked for us for, I'm not sure, 7, 8, 9 years. And actually what's awesome is that Justin also is a composer. And so he composed all of this music for Pillars of Eternity, and also all the music for Tyranny. That we then got, at least on Eternity, I can't remember what we did with Tyranny, but with Eternity we then had one of the orchestras in Prague actually do a live recording instead of just doing the synth stuff. But sometimes he needs to fill in stuff, and so that's where the guitars and the harps and bells and drums and what we used to have here but got taken over by another audio guy was a VO studio that we just found out we just never used.
Right.
And in there, but they would do a bunch of Foley stuff. So they would bring in and break bottles and do all that kind of stuff.
That's excellent.
Yeah. It used to be on here. There used to be a bunch because they went out and shot up a bunch of stuff recently, not recently, a few years ago. There used to be like the side of a washing machine here with like 45 caliber bullets all smashed through it.
Oh my god. I love Foley departments. I think it's one of the best parts of making video games.
Yeah, shooting guns.
They just do what they like. It's
great.
That's
true. Yes, I'd like them to work on the game more, but no. Yes, I do. So this is actually where Eternity 2 is being made, and actually where Eternity 1 was made, and this is actually this part of the building where Fallout New Vegas was made.
Right.
So this kind of corner.
Awesome.
It's kind of what we do is we try to make the corner like where a lot of the people that are the managers on the project. This is actually Josh Sawyer's office.
You can tell by the number of
you can actually
bicycles.
say this is the Bagel Mobile. This is so when he brings bagels in, he has to have a lot of things in order to be able to deliver enough bagels for 170 people. So,
I like those are the two roles he has. He's like design
Yes.
director for Obsidian and also the guy that gets the bagels.
He's the bagel
on
guy,
Wednesday.
yes. And actually, most people would say the bagels is more important.
Sure,
but
yeah.
So, so this is the hopeful map
Right.
of like Eternity 2, and that when we're finishing production. So games kind of go in different phases. You have pre-production, production, and post-production. When we're doing our job right, like we've really done all the levels at the end of production, which was theoretically August 4th. We're actually really close.
Oh,
with
Red
Eternity.
Cross is good. Feargus.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that means just the day was over.
Okay.
Like,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
so
It's not like no, that one was bad. That one was bad.
it's just all bad, or it's a really good bingo map. But yeah, so they anyway. So yeah, so we try to. This is all the producers kind of do things a little bit differently. From the standpoint of like they manage things differently, a little bit differently. Partly because also like teams are different. Like teams maybe are more heavily technical or more art or more this or more that, and so we're always trying new things, and and sometimes it's visual. Like in our lives now, everything's so digital and phones, and like why ever have anything that you can now
It's
see?
good to get a marker pen every
but
so
you
often.
you need a marker pen.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So like one of the other things that
Hello.
yeah, hey Seth. So that's one of our long-term animators, and actually he's worked on Alpha Protocol and the Eternities and South Park and a whole bunch of stuff. And he's waving. So this is one of more like our casual lounges. Like, so we have 3 of these. Why we built these, not to get too logistical, you can easily get about 30, 40 people because you can use the hallways.
Sure, yeah.
And the game director gets up front and kind of talks everything. So this was like when we first did this piece of key art for Eternity, which is what we used like in the Kickstarter. So this is the first time we ever printed it out, and just to see how it looked and felt. And then we put it up in the Kickstarter, and then it got used for everything. And then after we were done, we were able to then, of course, put it up on the wall,
a little bit bigger,
which was awesome. And that was way more inexpensive than I assumed it was going to be like thousands and thousands of dollars, and it didn't end up being that way. So this is also a new thing that Justin is trying out. It's called Louisiana Quiet Time, which is this idea that I guess an elf will be angry at you.
We've got 25 minutes.
Right. So with the idea that so much can be going on every day, like in so many people, and we have 50, 60 people working on a project or even more, like it's good that everybody's talking, but sometimes you just need to like stop and focus.
Sometimes you don't need Eurogamer to come around and point at things and talk loudly.
Yeah.
This is the corridor we can't.
No, I think we can do it. We can do kind of a loop here.
All right, I'll try and close my eyes.
Yes, no. But I guess the other thing is, that's Brian Menzie. So you called yourself out.
Hello. How's it going?
So
with Eurogamer.
Yes. So Brian, one of Brian's many abilities, because he has lots of abilities, he is one of the original guys who drew Vault Boys. All the way back at Interplay and Black Isle. And so he's still amazing at it. And
awesome.
He's also the one responsible for my favorite Vault Boy picture, which is Child Killer. And actually that office that Brian's sitting in is actually a lot of our VFX artists. Actually, it's all 4 of our VFX artists, Aaron and James and John and Jeff, Jeff is not there right now. But they're doing, they're basically doing effects for pretty much all the games right now, stuff we're not talking about, which is hopefully not on a screen. No, it's not on a screen. Good. But no, that was just Tyranny. That's fine. So it looks like just Tyranny and Eternity stuff where it was up on screen at that point. Yeah. So as we kind of are moving this way, we will quickly duck around. We will actually keep on walking that way.
Yeah, we're gonna
we're gonna go that way. So what it was is they're actually testing. Those guys are testing a lot of our games, but one of the games that's being tested there is something that we can't talk about
Thankfully,
yet.
I'm such a bad game journalist that I didn't even notice.
No, I noticed it very quickly. It really didn't look like anything, so like I knew what it was, but it wouldn't have been very. It really wouldn't even been that interesting. So you're not really missing anything. we can go down
Excellent.
here though. So.
You're doing a very good job of navigating.
Yeah, all right, let's go.
This isn't the room.
Yeah, these aren't the droids you're looking for. So over here is actually Tyranny DLC, and kind of which we're just finishing up over pretty much the next month, and then they'll be moving on to other stuff.
I think we're playing it a little bit later.
So but actually, thought I'd do some introductions here.
Hello.
So people can see the faces behind the games. So this is actually Anthony Davis and Dan Spitzley.
Excellent.
So Anthony started working for us all the way back on Star Wars Knights of the Republic 2. Then he left for a while to make donuts.
1 year.
Yes, he wasn't to make donuts. He actually went to work for another studio, but then ended up making donuts.
Right.
It's a very long story. It's a very long story. It's sad. There's no drugs involved, but that's okay. But then he came back to us, which has been awesome. And next to Anthony is Dan Spitzley. Dan, I don't know why, but we've worked together now since 1996. So this is the 21st year. Yes. And Dan worked with us at Black Owl Studios from that time. He actually got hired to do Dragon Dice. Was that Dragon Dice?
Well, yeah.
Right.
People must like you. They've stuck around.
I don't know why. Like it's really peculiar. Or they're just lazy and don't want to go get other jobs.
Getting paid.
Yeah, the pay keeps on showing
that
up.
Does help. That does
Yes. But Dan also was he worked on the original on Fallout 2, not Fallout 1, right? Or did you work on Fallout 1 at all?
Scripting on Fallout 1
And 2. Okay, that's right.
Cool.
And then he was the lead programmer on Planescape Torment, and he was the lead programmer on South Park: The Stick of Truth and Alpha Protocol, and I was going to get there.
That's a good list.
And Tyranny, and I'm missing something. Or that was all your lead programmer stuff.
Well, I was lead programmer on a couple projects at Black Owl that didn't.
That didn't. Oh, that's right. Torn and yeah, that's right. So, but his record. I mean, compared to a major league pitcher, your record's really good. The best thing I say about Dan is I think Dan is one of the best programmers in the industry, but he'll never tell you that. So that's the best thing to say about Dan. I do it all the time. That's true. Yes.
Well, nice to meet you both.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
And so yeah, so I don't think because he's in the meeting that you guys couldn't see as well. Mm-hmm. This is actually Rob Nestler, and Rob Nestler's our art director. And I don't know if Rob usually has lots of alcohol in his office, which is, let's see. There's not much alcohol in his office, so that's either a good or a bad thing. I actually don't know. But also, Rob was actually one of the first artists in the industry I ever worked with. One of the first games I ever tested was called Bard's Tale Construction Set, and he was one of the artists on it. He was also artist on Star Trek the 25th anniversary game, which was an adventure game that Interplay did in like 90.
How many people are still here that were at Interplay?
I really need to have that number because I always get asked. It's probably like from way back then. Yeah. It's probably like 15 of us.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah, we've now known each other for more than 20, in some cases more than 20 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, and
that's great. Well, we looked for alcohol and we didn't find it. So
yeah, I know. It's really too bad. Like, because we would have drank it, then it would have been none anyway. So this is our big lounge.
Hey, I recognize this bit. This was at the end of the Pillars of Eternity campaign.
Yes.
Everyone gathered here.
Everyone gathered, yes.
I'm going to just, should we?
So actually, sorry, I'm actually going to correct you. So
right,
sorry to do that.
Yeah, sure.
So this was actually, this is where we did the end of the Pillars of Eternity 2 campaign.
Oh, okay,
So
right.
the one where there was the picture of Justin in the New Minnesota Republic,
yes.
that's where we did.
Right,
But there's no couches in there right now. But these couches were in there.
I like that you've got one that's raised up so that everyone can be.
So everyone can see, yeah. Yeah, and so we kind of designed this lounge. We probably made it a little bit too big. We could probably play basketball in here. But as the company got bigger, we like to have meetings with the whole company, and so we do one about every 3 weeks, and it's about usually half an hour, 45 minutes. I get up and I talk about the business. Right. Then each of the game directors comes up and talks about for 5 or 10 minutes about there. Everybody can ask whatever question that they could desire. Anthony Davis, who we just were talking to, asks about 72% of the questions. And then Scott Everts, who we unfortunately couldn't see on our tour, asked the other 20%, nice. And then everything else is split between everybody else. But this is kind of our cross between that big lounge and lunchroom. Our pinball machines aren't working right now.
I do have a thing to point out here that yes. I'm quite fond of. I don't think it's working at the moment, which is unfortunate, but you have an arcade cabinet over here, which is
the Obsidian game.
Obsidian game. It's like the story of the company's.
Well, it was actually one of our programmers. He doesn't work here anymore. His name was Dan Robocaba, and he just decided, and I think it was someone else. I forgot who else created this game. And it's sort of like it's sort of like a top-down, like very old school dungeon crawler. And the characters you can pick between are like the owners.
Yeah.
Like
so what was your character?
I forgot. I think mine was. I think they wanted to. I don't know if I was either the rogue or the priest, which I didn't really understand, but it was one of those two. Yeah. So, and this was actually it's not this anymore, although you can play it on here. Mm-hmm. Twin Cobra was, and when I was in high school, was my favorite game that I used to play down by the arcade.
Oh, awesome.
And then some guy I knew when we were in Black Isle, said, hey, he had a cabinet, and so I bought it, and this cabinet was actually at Black Isle back in the day, along with a Robotron cabinet and missile and a centipede and a few others. We actually somehow over time we grew like about 5 or 6 different original like 80s maybe early 90s arcade games. But then we just turned it into one of these. It has a billion games. It has a billion games on it type of thing. So, but oddly, it's often still playing Robotron. So. And we even got a cocktail table one over there as well, where people play Pac-Man and things like that.
That's cool.
And so so that's and as you can see, actually, like we always try to put all our art on the wall. So pretty much everything you see is our art. I know there's one other thing before I can go because it's by my office.
Yes.
Which is not impressive, like I told you.
Because the narrative team stole it.
Yes, they did. The character artist stole it first.
Right.
So what you've learned here is that narrative artists are more aggressive than character artists.
Okay.
So so down here which my office, like I said, is down over there. I actually do. So a friend of mine, actually Eric DeMilt, who's one of our producers, had this in his group. Because it's funny when you like we worked at Black Isle for so many years, and then I was just sort of I quit and I left. And you're kind of not processing at the time, but I didn't take anything.
Yeah, sure.
Like I didn't want to feel like I'm just salvaging, like Black Isle, but I didn't take anything. But luckily, someone still had a Black Isle thing, and so I got to keep that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, which was because it was interesting. Like I guess the story there, which I think I've said, is Black Isle is where my last name is Urquhart. It's where the Urquharts historically came from.
Yep, in Scotland.
So that's kind of where in Scotland, yeah. Anyway, so this is which we show off, but it's just because I try to build it over time, and I think we're almost ready for another shelving unit, but is our board game collection.
Oh, do you have any favorites?
Yes, so I love Power Grid is awesome. Puerto Rico, but that's easy because everybody loves Puerto Rico. I love, this one is super cool, Mysterium. I don't know if anybody has played Mysterium, but it's like the 21st century Clue. But it's cooperative, and it's too. I had to explain it would take too long, but it's just. And if you get a chance, if one of your friends wants to play Mysterium,
that's the one.
It's totally fun.
Someone on the Eurogamer team will absolutely love that this is here as well.
Yes,
Doomtown's a big favorite in our
Well,
office.
we try to like a lot of the stuff here is Kickstarters. So we, one of the things we were so thankful to everybody who kind of gave us money for our Kickstarter and backed us. That we try to keep on that, and there's so many board games out on Kickstarter. I mean, if you're into board games and you haven't been looking on Kickstarter, I always tell you to go. I don't think, and the only thing I would say is, well, you're the British. Of course, we have Space Hulk. We have it's not there, Mage Knight. We have Warrior Knights, which was another old Games Workshop that I love. But Unfair, I'll point out Unfair, which is basically you're building an amusement park. Was not surprising, I shouldn't say that, but we played it. We had a blast playing Unfair, and because you're building up your amusement park while you're trying to tear your friends down at the same time.
That's awesome.
So it's a little bit of a builder but screw your neighbor type game as well. So
that's great. I mean, looking back at like even the history from Black Isle and Interplay days, like Fallout had heavy inspirations from tabletop and board games. So yeah, cool to see that still exists.
Yeah. No. I mean, not that we go into it, but that's actually I'll open that one. I think it's still all in there. So when we did KOTOR, Knights of the Republic 2, like we had to do all this research. I mean, you think you know Star Wars, right? But we had to do all this research, and I think, if I remember right, a lot of it's still here. I think some of it's gone elsewhere, but you can see basically. So Chris Avallone consumed like that whole shelf, and I think we actually got rid of him. There was these like young adult Star Wars ones that he read anyways. He kind of was twitching afterward, but yeah, and that's what I don't know. We try to do whenever we do a license with Star Wars or South Park or something like that. We try to really just jump in and do what we can. These are old, this is stuff that no one's seen in years, but like Redneck Rampage, which was a silly game that Airplay did, that people here worked on, and we had the original Neverwhere Nights as well.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I imagine that would have helped to have played that a little bit.
Yeah, well, no, so I was the original producer on Neverwinter Nights for Interplay. Because Neverwinter Nights was originally, for 3 years of its development, Neverwinter Nights was actually being published by Interplay, and Atari came in only in the last 4 months.
Right.
And then it became an Atari game. So the original concept of it was like me, and it was me, Ray Gregg, and Trent Oster were sitting around trying to come up with another game, idea, and we just said, hey, you know, with D&D, like it's all about the modules. So let's make it possible for people to design their own modules, and that's kind of where Nerd's came from.
All right, well, Feargus, as something's just dropped out of Bertie's bag, I've noticed. I think we might be a good place to,
Absolutely,
to wrap up here. Thank you so much for showing us around. It's
absolutely, thank you.
Much better than Eurogamer's office.
Oh, there we go.
Again, much better.
Cool.
Awesome.